Hi everyone, it's Curious Raven. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm sorry about my voice is not that strong right now. I'm still a little hoarse and still coughing and my throat still hurts, but I really don't want to leave y'all with almost 2 weeks and no videos. I really do want to post 2 this week, so please bear with me. When I was younger, I saw a shadow man standing in my front yard under the willow tree, and it was dark outside. I stared at him for a long time because I knew he would disappear when I looked away. He was wearing what looked like a cape or a trench coat, and the collar was up. He had a dog. It looks pretty big, maybe fluffy even. But the neighbor's dog would bark, and it would look over where they were and growl and act as if it wanted to lunge in that direction. And the shadow man had a hand on his shadow dog, and he would pet it. When it did this, and the dog would look back at me and put its head down as if stalking me. I screamed to my family without looking away. Everyone came out and looked but saw nothing. My mother had me describe him, and she started crying, saying she saw the same thing before, but didn't see him now. There was no way I wouldn't have known she had seen him before. She never told us kids about it, not until we mentioned it. She had always seen things that wasn't there, but this really scared her. It had a bad energy, and the fact that I could hear the dog growling made it so much worse. I couldn't see his face, but I had a gut feeling he was smiling at me. He never once looked away. Finally, I did, and when I looked back, he was gone. This just happened earlier this morning. I have sleep issues, so I'm always up long before daylight. I'm also the only one in the house up this early, besides a few dogs and cats. Around 4:30 a.m. this morning, I woke up and shuffled into the kitchen to make some coffee as usual. I can't drink hot coffee, so I make mine in the blender. I have this thing that every time I start the blender, I feel like someone is behind me. I always look and no one's ever been there, but still creepy. My kitchen is at the back of the big old house, so when I'm standing at the blender, the laundry room with a half bath is to my left. Directly behind me is the doorway into the dining room. My bedroom door is on the right dining room wall, and in the back there's another door into the living room, which is locked at night. So I'm in the kitchen, and one of the dogs, Teddy, and one of the cats, Phoenix, are sitting on a chair next to me. I'm doing my thing, and I start the blender. A couple seconds later, Teddy growls, looking into the direction of the dining room. Phoenix is looking the same direction, and I immediately get that someone's behind me feeling. I turn the blender off and look behind me, expecting nothing as usual, and I see what looked like my husband going back into the bedroom. My bedroom doesn't have a door, so there's a curtain over it. I saw him go through the door. Just a quick glimpse, really, and when he threw the curtain back, one of my other cats, Thomas, attacked it. I stopped the blender thinking, what the fuck is he doing? So my first thought, he must have gone to the bathroom. We have an upstairs bathroom, but he'd had to unlock the door and walk upstairs, which he wouldn't do. And he could get to the downstairs one, he'd have to literally squeeze past me through the door. And he hadn't. Neither of my kids had come in, and the house is silent. I walked into the bedroom, pretty much right behind him. My husband is sound asleep, and so are the other dogs. No one there but me, but Teddy and Phoenix saw him. And I know I did. So who the fuck went into my bedroom? And where the fuck did they go? So, to start this out, this woman in the white dress is the first I've ever seen of a ghost. It happened when I just moved to a new house, for the first time pretty young, and I noticed something weird in my room. That I would have incredibly vivid nightmares. It felt like I was actually in them, and I would wake up in sweats, so I stopped sleeping in there. Ever since that happened, my mom told me that my sister knows about ghosts. And just that there's an old lady here that used to be in my room. So me, being me, I didn't really care. I started switching between living room and my mom's room until one night my mom was going to bed around this time. I felt off. And when I tried going to sleep, I started to uncontrollably cough. And my mom, being worried, kept asking me if I needed water. But I said no, until I looked at the open door. Then I saw her. Her hair was down and pale, and her eyes were practically piercing you. I could see her white nightgown and everything. She just looked angry. Ever since then, I sleep with my door shut. After a while, the coughing stopped, and we moved, until I decided to talk to my sister about it. But not in all detail, just about the lady, and she goes, "Oh yeah, I used to see her walking around the house, outside with a bun." I was confused, because I never saw her like that. But still to this day, whoever that was, I'm terrified of her. One time when I was young, I don't remember age or grade, only that I was little. I was in the living room with my family when I decided to go to the hallway. Basically, this is the layout of my mom's. When you enter, there is a small room to your right where we keep stuff we use for cleaning. The guest room to the left. If you go forward about 3 to 5 steps, there's this dining room which connects to the kitchen. If you keep going forward, at the entrance of the living room to your right, there's an L-shaped hallway with 3 rooms and a bathroom that are connected. At the beginning of the hallway in the corner, there is a small space to your right that leads to the garage, and to the left of that is my room. So I was in the living room and decided to run into the hallway when my body froze. When I looked to my right, I saw a black figure, which looked exactly like a man just standing there. I slowly walked back to the living room and went back there later to see what it was, but it was gone. There was nothing ever there. This needs a backstory, so you can look at my last post, but basically me and my friend got in contact with something very powerful. And ever since then, including later that night, when I'm driving and it's dark, I see orange flashing orbs appear in the sky. These orbs show up on video, but my friend could not see them even though we were in the same spot. But she could see it on my phone screen. I don't know what it is or what to do. I was 3 years old and moving into a new house for the first time. The home was lived in before and was a rental, and the owners kicked us out with only 5 months of forewarning. I have a little memory due to being an infant, but I do remember small bits and pieces, like having to be potty trained before moving. When we got to the house, I was ready to play with the random things my mom packed for me. But we had to do some housewarming stuff, and I met the kids next door. They were a Muslim family and greeted us with a feast of some kebabs and rice. Ramadan had just ended, and they had a tradition of having a feast at the end. Then one of the children, Hasan, whispered to us, "Sometimes I see shadows dance across my room. I wonder if you'll see them too." I went on without much thought of what he had said, since at that time I still believed toys were alive. That night, I lay in my bed hugging my Care Bear plush when I saw these shadows summon out of the floor and danced across my room, twirling, flying, bowing. Then they receded into the floor. I laughed to myself, oblivious to the strangeness of the event. Then in the corner of my room, a shadow around the size of a 7-year-old walked to me slowly. I got scared and I cried for my mom. She came over to comfort me and said it was just a bad dream and brought me to her room to sleep. As the parents' bed magic goes, I woke up in my own bed with no proof I was in her bed to begin with, and went on with my day. For the first couple of years, the shadows kept dancing in my room. I named them and befriended them, at least in my mind. I eventually learned my house was built upon an old graveyard with bodies that were never moved. Those shadows were likely ghosts of the deceased, dancing until the end of time and trying to contact the living.